boy, gentlemen, do we have a lot to catch up on? I'm going to give my reaction to every single pick in the NFL draft, but we have to start with the craziest story. Shadeur Sanders slides to day 3. We have to start here. Now, day 1 goes by, Shedeur doesn't get picked. Pretty surprising, not insanely surprising, but pretty surprising. I was at a wedding for day 2 of the NFL draft. So imagine my reaction at 2 in the morning, many beers deep, when I found out that Shedeur still didn't get taken at the end of day 2. Finally, though, with the 144th pick in the NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns take Shadeur Sanders. This is after they drafted Dillon Gabriel before Shadeur Sanders in the same draft. This is also the same Browns team that traded off of Travis Hunter. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. Let's start with Shadeur Sanders. One of the shocking slides in NFL draft history ended in the 5th round as the Cleveland Browns traded their 166th and 192nd pick to the Seattle Seahawks to select Colorado quarterback Shadeur Sanders with the 144th overall choice on Saturday. So, number one, kind of interesting that the Browns trade up here. They clearly thought that someone between 144 and 166 was taking Shadeur Sanders. Who that team was supposed to be, I'm not sure, but they clearly felt it was worth it to trade up. I mean, many people regarded Shadeur Sanders as the second best quarterback in this class. Let me be very clear. I'm not necessarily agreeing with that. I personally have no good way of evaluating the talent of Shadeur Sanders. It's really difficult when someone plays for a team like Colorado. It's much easier to evaluate the talent when they're in a big team or big program. I just can't tell, is Shadeur Sanders actually the second best quarterback in the draft, or is Shadeur Sanders just incredibly hyped up by the media? I honestly don't know. But one thing is clear. Many analysts, professionals, draft experts had Shadeur Sanders as the second best quarterback in the draft. The potential first-round pick became a day 3 selection. Now, I find this interesting. The Browns spent extensive time with Sanders throughout the pre-draft process, talking to him and Travis Hunter, who, they had a chance to take and traded off of. But what's so crazy to me is they used their second-round pick on Dillon Gabriel, or one of their second-round picks on Dillon Gabriel. I think they might have had 2. Actually, wow, the Browns had a lot of picks. So they take Carson Schwessinger, UCLA. Then they take Quinshon Judkins, Ohio State. Then in round 3, they take Harold Fannin and Dillon Gabriel at the end of the 3rd. Apologies, not the 2nd. And then they trade up in the 5th to draft Shadeur Sanders. I'm going to be honest. Looking at it like this, I don't think the Cleveland Browns ever planned on taking Shadeur Sanders. To me, this is simply like a value opportunity. If you take Dillon Gabriel, there's your rookie quarterback. You used a higher pick on him. I think the Browns were as shell-shocked as everybody when Shadeur Sanders is still draftable. And they said, you know what? Fuck it. We'll trade a 6th and a 7th to get Shadeur Sanders. He's definitely, here's the thing to me, and this is what's so crazy to me, is he not worth this pick? Isn't he worth a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th round pick? I mean, okay, say whatever you want about Shadeur Sanders. Say he's overhyped, say he's only overhyped because of his dad, whatever. It is undoubtedly true that his ceiling is very high. I mean, it has to be. His father is a Hall of Famer, and he played good quarterback play at Colorado. His ceiling has to be high. How is that not worth another team's 3rd or 4th or anybody prior to the Browns? I don't get it. I really don't get it. What kind of value are you realistically getting in the 5th round? Nothing on, Riley Mills, D-tackle out of Notre Dame. I'm sure he's a stud, but I don't know. I don't get it. Now, the main reason I made this video is I wanted answers to the exact questions I'm talking about right now, so let's see what the experts have to say. By the way, this is to say nothing of the absolute nightmare that is the Browns quarterback room. So the Browns quarterback room right now is Dillon Gabriel, Shadeur Sanders, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson? I was gonna say, that article doesn't mention Deshaun Watson because the Browns' public statements about the big swing and a miss of the trade, yeah, that's an understatement of the century. It's one of the worst trades in NFL history, and the potential for him to be released. So yes, technically Deshaun's still there, but what a bizarre quarterback room. Joe Flacco makes sense. That's your veteran. He's played well with the Browns before. I don't know. If the Browns somehow don't get talent out of Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shadeur Sanders, I'll actually be kind of impressed. I feel like at least one of those guys has got to play some good football in the next couple of years, right? Now, why did the Browns select Sanders after drafting Gabriel? Picking Gabriel over Sanders in the 3rd round was a widespread surprise, but the Browns trading up to take Sanders usurped that. To general manager Andrew Berry, it came down to maximizing value with a pick at the game's most important position. It's kind of what I was saying. If you're sitting in the 5th round and you're like, holy shit, Shadeur Sanders is still in here, let's take him. Who cares if we need the position? I agree with that. Barry on Saturday acknowledged that he didn't enter the draft expecting to take 2 quarterbacks, but was flexible as it unfolded. Entering day 3, he had discussions with his staff about the possibility of targeting Sanders if he continued to fall in the draft. After teams selected multiple players whom the Browns were interested in, Barry said he ultimately decided there was too much value in selecting Sanders to pass up. So this is the GM. This is a direct quote from the GM. Once it got to a point where it felt like it was a pretty steep discount, we just felt like, especially relative to the alternative ways that we could use the selection, this made the most sense. Okay, well that answers that question. That's why you end up taking Shedeur, just because holy shit, he's still there. Not because that was your plan all along. Now, what caused Sanders to slide? Sanders' lack of top-end talent left him without an NFL home after day 1. The slide out of day 2 is harder to explain. Clearly the league spoke. Teams had a problem with Shadeur Sanders and all that encompasses his draft profile. Yes, whispers persisted that his pre-draft process did not go well, particularly his interviews. But as a few people inside the league have surmised, slides happen when talent doesn't match or surpass potential drawbacks. Teams hate distractions. If they felt that Sanders' presence would be one for whatever reason, his ability at the next level wasn't intoxicating enough to offset all of that. And more than that, this was a logistical issue. 3 teams that made the most sense, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Saints, liked other options better. Once the 3rd round hit, there was a scarcity of teams in need of a passer. I don't really agree with this last statement. I can't agree with this. It was not the fact that those teams took quarterbacks, because there were a ton of other Shedeur was what, the 6th quarterback to get taken? The 7th quarterback to get taken? Cam Ward to Tennessee, the easiest draft pick of all time. Of course you take Cam Ward there. He was the clear-cut best quarterback. Now you've got to decide between Tyler Shuck, by the way, that's how you pronounce it, it's Shuck, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. Those are the next 4 kind of logical options. And I will say, a lot of people did predict Shedeur Sanders to the Steelers. They take Derek Harmon. Makes sense. D-tackle, Cam Hayward's 36. Steelers love their D-line. It's a good pick. This isn't outrageous that they don't take Shedeur. A lot of people did have Jackson Dart going to the Giants. I get it. It makes sense. And then the Saints take Tyler Shuck. This is the first thing where it's like, uh-oh. Something is going on that we don't understand. That really is like my main opinion here. There is something going on that we do not know. The general public does not know. I mean, we could sit here and play pussyfoot and like make up all these rumors about how Shedeur Sanders' draft process or the stigma surrounding him and his father. We have no idea if any of that is true. I personally believe there is something that nobody knows. Now, I will say this. Tyler Shuck, pre-draft, started to climb the boards really, really fast. Like all the mocks, because all the people that Tyler Shuck met with had really, really good things to say about him. Tyler Shuck, by the way, played 7 years of college football. 3 at Oregon, 3 at Texas A&M, and 1 at Louisville. He was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. This guy only played 1 full season of college football, and he played 7 years, which is crazy. He redshirted at Oregon 2018, played 5 games as Justin Herbert's backup. He started all 7 games, threw for 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's 2020. Oh, sorry, Texas Tech, not Texas A&M. Broke his collarbone 2021, injured his shoulder 2022, broke his leg 2023, and then he had a really good game at Louisville, like a really good season at Louisville. This isn't my opinion on him. I really don't know much about this guy. It's just like, damn, that's the guy that just went over Shedeur that everyone's kind of shocked by. Then Jalen Milroe goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Then Dylan Gabriel goes to the Cleveland Browns, and now it's just anarchy. Now it's just anarchy. I mean, what are we even talking about? How on earth did this happen? I don't know. I think the only other alternative is the media actually tricked us. Like maybe Shedeur Sanders, maybe GMs knew this entire time that Shedeur Sanders was just not that good, or they just didn't want him that bad. But the media just like hyped it up so much that casuals like me are convinced that he was really good. Honest to God, whenever the media covers a player so much over and over and over and over, by default, you start to not like them. Like, I hate how much the media shoved Colorado down my fucking throat. I get it. Coach Prime's there. I get it. His kids are on the team. I get it. I fucking get it, ESPN. I get it. Now, can you fucking press the brakes and stop shoving Colorado down my throat? And all that media attention honestly made me not like these guys. It is nothing personal against them. I just get so sick of seeing this shit. It's a media circus and I hate it. Well, now I feel the opposite way. This guy just, it sucks what happened to him. It's very embarrassing. I feel so bad for him. I hope he fucking dominates in the NFL. I want him to be so good now. Now, what are people around the league saying about Shedeur Sanders' slide? That the 5th round for him is a bit ridiculous. I agree. While many evaluators graded him as a day 2 pick, I've talked to multiple personnel evaluators I trust who graded him as a late first rounder. That's why they consider the Browns a good spot. They were a team without an unquestioned starter. Stylistically, Sanders is a fit. He can thrive off play action. And then the Browns drafted Gabriel before him. I wonder if this was a bit of like peer pressure, panic. Once everybody was passing on Shedeur, then everybody was passing on Shedeur, you know? First follower? I have no idea. Maybe there's some human psychology in there. Maybe there's just something we just have no fucking clue. In what's considered a weaker quarterback class, perceptions varied wildly by team. Yeah, that is the other thing, though. The way the media hyped this up, they're acting like this is one of the greatest draft classes of all time. If you zoom out, this is not actually that good of a class. On paper, the only home run quarterback, home run easy quarterback pick was Cam Ward. That's it. Travis Hunter is a generational talent. There are a lot of good tackles. Ashton Genty is a generational running back talent. Obviously, Abdul Carter on paper looks really good. T-Mac on paper looks really good, but this is not on paper this crazy stacked draft class. It's just not. Now, what are Shadeur Sanders' prospects for playing time? Browns coach Kevin Stefanski said that anyone who is added to the room will be expected to compete for starting time. Sanders enters a four-man race with an experienced veteran in Flacco, a former first-round pick in Pickett, and another rookie adjusting to the pros in Dylan Gabriel. Yeah, that's actually crazy when you put it in perspective like that. Kenny Pickett was a first-round quarterback, and Shadeur Sanders is a fifth-round quarterback. I will say none of this shit matters. Who cares where Shedeur or Pickett or Gabriel or anybody was drafted? The Browns are 100% going to start the guy who's going to win them the most games. That's a fact. So if that ends up being Shadeur Sanders and he looks the best, then he's going to play. Doesn't matter that he was drafted in the fifth. The only thing that matters for being drafted in the fifth is your contract. The amount of money he lost out on for that's obviously, Shadeur Sanders doesn't need money, but you get what I'm saying. That's probably the biggest difference right there. And obviously the emotional toll that takes. Does this officially close the book on the Watson era in Cleveland? Honestly, that book has been shut for a while now. What a crazy fall off for Deshaun Watson. So good at Clemson, so good on the Houston Texans, PR scandal, so not great on the Browns. All right, now we're gonna go to probably the most untrusted source of literally all time, Reddit. So please, for the love of God, do not believe anything I'm about to say is Bible. In fact, probably don't believe it at all. But I do want to hear what people are saying. Free to read from The Athletic. Why hasn't Shadeur Sanders been drafted yet? It's complicated. Yeah, no shit. I'm so glad I didn't pay for the fucking Athletic to hear that. Oh, it's complicated? The Titans take Cam Ward to be the franchise QB. The Giants take Jackson Dart at number 25. And the Saints went in Tyler Shuck at number 40 as insurance for Derek Carr. Aside from them, who is realistically looking for a starting quarterback, the Pittsburgh Steelers are still awaiting word from Aaron Rodgers. The Browns have all but declared they're in a bridge year with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, which is very ironic considering this was clearly written before day 2, day 3. The Colts might be in no man's land with Anthony Richardson, but they aren't going to create a three-headed monster with an early QB pick. As a general rule, fourth-round picks are expected to make the team out of training camp. Fifth-rounders open the offseason on the inside of the bubble. The rest have to earn it. Most fourth-rounders will earn a signing bonus in the neighborhood of $1 million. That's cut in half in the fifth round. So most fifth-rounders earn a signing bonus of $500,000. Seventh-rounders will typically earn about $100,000 plus their base salaries if they make the team out of camp. I can't wait to hear how he's extra motivated to face other teams that passed on him every single time he takes the field. Dude, the NFL loves that narrative. The NFL loves that storyline so much. They get ready. Honestly, get ready. You thought Shadeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Coach Prime at Colorado was a media frenzy? Get ready for sports media to bend you over and actually have sex with you. To literally clap your fucking cheeks, milking the shit out of the Shadeur Sanders timeline. This thing will get milked into the dirt until this kid is out of the league. And whether that's 2 years from now or 20 years from now, they do not care. They will do it. Oh, I'm gonna hate it, bro. I'm gonna have to log off of fucking Instagram. Bold assumption that he's ever gonna take the field as a starter for a team at this point. I disagree with this. I would almost guarantee that Shadeur Sanders will start on a team at the very least. I understand that he slid, and that's kind of crazy, but I think he will start for a team at some point. He will start in the Saudi Pro League. Bro, if the Saudis want to make a pro league and start paying these guys big bread, I'd watch that shit. I don't even care. Yeah, the irony, of course, is that literally every single team in the NFL has now passed on him multiple times. Every single team in the NFL, including the Browns, passed on Shedeur. So, the chip on his shoulder is even against his own organization now, right? It is kind of a slap in the face. The Browns take Gabriel, and then they're like, fuck it. We're taking Shedeur too. Honest to God, I feel so bad for the kid. And he's got such a good attitude. If you like follow Shedeur on anything, he's just basically saying, you know, God is great and everything's going to be all right and God has a plan for me. I really respect the way he's handling it. It's very mature because I would be a pissy little bitch. I'll tell you that. I don't quite believe this narrative about teams not being needy. If a team thought he'd be worth to gamble, they'd pick him. The Browns would absolutely take a guy who they thought had real potential to elevate the team. It's clear he wasn't ranked nearly as high as he and his dad like to portray. I honestly completely agree with this. You know, after day one, the narrative was, after day one, it was like, oh, well, you know, none of these teams were really going to take a quarterback anyway, other than the Giants who took Jackson Dart. That's the only anomaly. That's not true. If you think a guy has an unlimited ceiling, you fucking take him. It is that simple. It really is that simple. If you're an NFL franchise, you got a chance to take an ultra high ceiling quarterback, you're going to take him. That's the way the media portrayed Shadeur Sanders. Clearly, he either pissed people off real bad or NFL GMs just don't believe that. They could definitely be wrong or they could be totally right, but they showed that by passing on this kid until the 5th round. A lot of talk about teams passing on Shedeur when Shedeur already passed on those teams. As a middling QB, he essentially told teams not to draft him when he didn't throw at the combine, didn't do any board work, and pissed off people in interviews. This is a bit of like, this is just kind of Reddit shit. There does not appear to be a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that he pissed off people in interviews. There was one anonymous member, the Saints, I believe, or maybe the team was anonymous too. There was one anonymous person in sports media who said their interview with Shadeur Sanders was one of the worst they've ever had. So some fucking guy who doesn't want to put his name on it said that the interview went bad. I don't think it's fair to characterize all of his interviews as going poorly. I will say not throwing at the combine, don't like that. I disagree with this. I think unless your name is Cameron Ward, you should be throwing at the combine. That's my opinion on that. Dion famously ignored a test the Giants sent him because the Giants were picking at 12, and he told them he'd be gone by their pick anyway. I'm certain Shedeur thought he could pull the same bullshit with some franchise. Basically, I'm not going to play for you in interviews, and now really wishes he hadn't. I just did. Reddit and the whole internet is a scary place. This guy is certain that Shedeur said that based off of absolutely no evidence at all. Sorry to like glaze here, because I guess I kind of am, but like, how can you go on the internet and boldly say something like this? You have no idea if this is true. This is completely pulled out. This is just a guess. It's a total guess. You're just guessing that he said that. By the way, I don't want to rule it out. It is certainly possible he just pissed everybody off super, super bad by being a prick in his interviews. It's also possible that that didn't happen, that he was a nice guy and teams were just like, this guy's overrated. We don't see him as a value pick. This I think is a nice middle ground for that statement, which is basically that there is some amount of drama that surrounds Shadeur Sanders because he's Deion Sanders' kid and because his draft process is more unique than the average talent. So teams are more incentivized to go with maybe a little worse quarterback who won't pitch a fit. I wouldn't describe it as pitching a fit, but like, yeah, you've got one guy who on paper is more talented, and you've got another guy like, let's say Dylan Gabriel, who doesn't carry around the whole stigma. I get it. I could see that being the case. I also think this comment sums up kind of what I'm saying really well. It's hard to judge any person's NFL caliber and ability to be on a team based purely on what you read without knowing them. But that's why I rely on all the NFL teams who did interviews and detailed scouting to do that. And it's clear through 3 rounds and a bunch of other quarterbacks that they don't judge Shedeur worth their picks up until the 5th round. That is the simplest answer. No matter what you have to say about drama this, drama that, NFL teams want nothing more than to win. And they prove that all the time with shady shit that NFL teams do. Like when Kareem Hunt gets kicked off of his team for like, you know, what happened with Kareem Hunt? And he's instantly picked up by another team. Or some player will get booted off a team for like a drug or a criminal charge, and then they'll just get picked up by the next team. These teams don't give a shit. If you can win them football games, they're putting your ass on the team. They care more about winning than they care about anything else. I highly doubt it's just like, oh, we don't like Shedeur. You know, he's too much of a diva. That's bullshit, bro. If that diva was gonna win, if you seriously thought that diva was gonna win you football games, you're drafting him. It's honestly really funny seeing these Browns fans like talk about where Shedeur's gonna go. Like this guy was like, Chiefs, Ravens, or Eagles? No, buddy, he's your quarterback. This article from The Guardian has a lot more actual quotes from executives and draft analysts. They title it, Shadeur Sanders' Fall Exposed the Cruel Heart of the NFL Draft Industry. Kind of a biased title. I promise you that the NFL draft industry does not have a cruel heart. They just want to win football games. I promise you that. On talent alone, Sanders profiles as a day 2 prospect, but given that it was a weak quarterback class, there were plenty of QB-hungry teams, and the class as a whole lacked star power at the top. Therefore, he was pushed up into the early first-round discussion. Whatever the merits of Sanders as a prospect, he's also been on the receiving end of the worst part of the draft industrial complex. Anonymous scouts and coaches have spent months teeing off on his character and ability. He's so entitled, a coach told NFL Network. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates. But the biggest thing is he's not that good. That is what an executive told ESPN's Josina Anderson, that Sanders was brash and arrogant during his interview at the NFL Combine. Days before the first round, another anonymous voice called Sanders the worst interview ever. Now, after people say a bunch of shit like this, sometimes I definitely take it with a grain of salt, because these guys are all trying to play mind games with each other. For example, if I think, let's pretend you watching this are an NFL GM, and I'm drafting after you, and I think you want Shadeur Sanders, and I do too, I might just start sending out fucking rumors. I might just start sending out rumors about how Shadeur Sanders sucks, and he's brash and arrogant and this, that, and the other thing, to try to convince you not to take him, so that I can take him. That's what I thought at first. And then he slides to the 5th round, and every team passed on him 4 different times. So this isn't like galaxy brain mind games these guys are playing. Clearly, whoever said this actually felt that way. This wasn't like a galaxy brain first round, switcheroo play. Every single team passed on him 4 times, including my favorite team. Not that we were gonna go for a quarterback anyway, right? But like, everybody passed on him. Crushing the character of a prospect is the anonymous executive's favorite pastime? Bizarre ass way to word it. Executives and people who interview players will give their opinions on how those interviews went. They're not crushing the character of a prospect. They're evaluating the prospect. It's their job. I think this is... For a league that preaches accountability and leadership, the NFL loves nothing more than unloading on college students behind the protection of a reporter's phone? What the fuck are you yapping about? Who wrote this shit? It's literally their job to evaluate the talent. That's what they do. This isn't a college student. This is a multi-millionaire professional athlete. We talking about this like it's fucking Bush League Powder Puff softball. What the fuck are we talking about? Joel Klatt said that league executives are trash for leaking information about Sanders during the pre-draft process. I honestly couldn't disagree more. I really couldn't disagree more. Now, if there was evidence pointing to the fact that they made it up, like they're just being assholes and none of it's true, then yes, I'll agree with you. If Shadeur Sanders was brash and arrogant in his interview, is it not completely reasonable to say, hey, Shadeur Sanders was brash and arrogant during his interview? I don't know. I don't agree with this. It is a rite of passage for prospects who do not look or sound like the quarterbacks who grumpy scouts grew up working around. Are they making this a race thing? Cameron fucking Ward went first. He's blacker than Shedeur. What are we yapping about, bro? But the reality is that teams will overlook players who do not fit the traditional archetype if the evidence that they can play is on tape. Even Caleb Williams was put under the microscope last year. Caleb Williams was the starting quarterback for the Bears, and he didn't play that great. Of course, any starting quarterback is going to be put under the microscope. What the fuck are you talking about? Teams questioned how the unanimous top selection dressed, his emotional EQ, and that he dared to question teams about their plans rather than sitting back and minding his P's and Q's. Who fucking wrote this Guardian article? You're actually an idiot. Hey, Guardian. Hey, Guardian. Caleb Williams was round 1, pick 1. Caleb Williams was not a 5th. This is literally this is the most biased. This is such a bad article. Holy shit. Caleb Williams is round 1, pick 1. Nobody gave a... If you're too nonchalant, that's a problem, but if you see yourself as the CEO of Caleb Williams Industries, that's a problem too. No, it wasn't. He was round 1, pick 1. It clearly wasn't a fucking problem. The same mind-numbing leaks were sent to the same sources. Williams was arrogant, his dad was a problem, and he didn't fit some vague notion of masculinity. None of that mattered on draft night. Williams was such an overwhelming talent that he still sat at the top of the draft boards for most teams and was selected by the Bears with the first pick. Sanders isn't that kind of needle mover, allowing the anonymous to comfortably hide behind their reservations about him. Is my reading comprehension horrible, or does this entire paragraph contradict itself? I don't know. My reading comprehension just might be fucking cooked. Teams are also worried about the influence of his father. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You might be excited about the influence of his father because his father's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, I could see why you'd be worried because it's a non-traditional recruit. The article closes up by saying landing in the second round may ultimately be good for Sanders' career. How about landing in the fifth? Okay, this video's gone on super long. I haven't even talked about the other picks, really. So this is just going to have... I kind of said at the start this was going to end up being a Shadeur Sanders video. It is. Here's all I really want to say, what I want to conclude with this. I think it's reasonable to say maybe he wasn't a first rounder. I think it's unreasonable to think that he is actually a fifth rounder. I truly believe there's got to be something else going on here behind the scenes that we don't fully understand. I think the Cleveland Browns made an excellent pick. I think any team who got Shedeur in the fifth round was going to be... That is such a good pick. The value is there. No matter what you have to say, the ceiling for this kid is so high. I genuinely pray, I actually pray that he proves everyone wrong. I think it would be an awesome story. It's gonna be really annoying to hear the media absolutely milk the hell out of that story if it becomes true. But I hope he becomes the Browns starter. I hope he leads this team to some success, especially with the Browns, a team that's really struggled to have legitimate success, especially in the postseason. All right, boys. Sorry, this is a big MM Yap session, but I hope you enjoyed it. I love you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.